Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the CES pre-show. I'm very excited to be able to cover CES 2023 and yeah man, it has just been a wild week so far of talk about what's going to be shown at CES. A lot of people are very excited for CES. I know I am. There's a couple of things out there floating out there that we're going to talk about based on LG rumors for MLA. Is it coming? Is it not coming? It certainly looks like a strong possibility that we might see it. So yeah, we're going to talk about that and much more in this video. How's the audio, guys? Let me know if I need to turn it up or if it's just a good volume. I do think that I will crank it up just a little bit because it does sound a little bit low for me. But how are you guys doing out there? I hope everybody's doing good today. Type in the comments, type in the chat what you guys are excited for CES 2023. And let's kick this off, man. Let's kick this off. So there's a couple of things out there. What's MLA? That's the micro lens array. It's a new technology from LG that's supposed to make their OLEDs brighter and more efficient. Hopefully compete with the QD OLED technology. That remains to be seen. We'll see. People are very excited about MLA. And yeah, we'll kick it off with MLA. The talk about that. So let me pull that up on the screen for you guys. So the rumor is that MLA may actually be at CES 2023. Now, I don't know anything myself. I wasn't told anything. I just have seen these rumors, and I'm going to pull up that rumor right now. I think Flat Panels HD was tweeting about it, as well as, let's see. I know exactly where people should go to see this. HD TV. Oh man, where is it at? It's in my notifications on Twitter. Here we go. High Def News. Of course it's on High Def News. That's where it's always at. So you guys should follow High Def News on Twitter. He was posting about some of the CES news. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. So let me pull that up for you guys. Hide my DMs there. All right, let me pull that up. Okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing, share this screen. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Let's get this going. All right. So here we are with High Def News on Twitter. Here we go. Click that there. Okay. That was a little bit of a jump through hoops type situation. But all right, here we go. So we have High Def News on Twitter, and he was showing some of the news that's coming out of CES so far. Sharp is talking about an XLED technology. I think it's just their XLED TVs that they've shown, much like QLED, but it's going to be their mini LED, and they're going to show it in 120-inch size. And yeah, this was from Flat Panels HD. So let me go ahead and go to that right now. So hopefully you guys see this on the screen. Let's see. Yeah, here it is, Flat Panels HD. And they're talking about you might be able to find this MLA technology at CES 2023. That remains to be seen. They're also talking about some of the OLED gaming monitors that's going to be there. But they said that their sources say that MLA is coming to OLED TVs in 2023. So that's the micro lens array technology. It'll be interesting to see if this actually happens, because there was rumors that it was going to be pushed to 2024, and now we have conflicting rumors that it will be at CES 2023. Now, it doesn't shock me at all, because I was sort of expecting this to show up at CES 2023. It was just something I feel like LG has to do, right? They have to address QD OLED, and hopefully this will be their way. You can read all about this article on Flat Panels HD. It's just their little CES preview. But yeah, they're talking about MLA technology. We can talk about it here. If you guys got any expectations, put them in the chat. Do you think MLA technology is going to be a big deal in 2023, or do you think it's not a big deal? Let's see what chat has to say. Yeah, I have a video on MLA as well, explaining it and talking about it. Been a TV video boycott since you bought the S95B, a little far behind. Hey, that's all right. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you got to fall back and enjoy your TV. I hope you are enjoying your TV. Alexander, what's up? He says, good evening. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope Santa was good to you guys, and happy safe new year. Yeah, happy safe new year back to you. I hope everybody has a happy safe new year. That's right, New Year's Eve is tomorrow. That's going to be a good time. Hope everybody is going to enjoy themselves. Sup, KG, happy holidays. Happy holidays back to you. Yeah, LG they got to be innovative, because right now, they're kind of behind the 8 ball with the QD OLED, and we gotta get some changes there. But yeah, let me know in the chat, any questions you guys have, any comments you guys have. What are you expecting at CES? What would you like to see me cover at CES? Because I will be at CES live next week, and I'm going to be very excited to bring you that content and coverage. I'll do some live streams here and there, and we'll see. Is MLA coming to C series or G series? My guess is if MLA is coming, that it will be coming only to the G series. I don't expect it to roll down into the C series at all. But again, that remains to be seen. I've heard a couple of different rumors regarding this, but I would expect it in the G series. Yeah, so let me see what else it says. Yeah, nothing beyond that. Just says our sources say that MLA is going to be there. Whether or not, those sources can be trusted, that remains to be seen. We'll see. But Flat Panels HD is a really good site, and maybe they have good sources. But we'll find all this out on Tuesday, Wednesday. Probably like around Wednesday or Thursday is when we'll find out. But I will be landing on Tuesday. I believe most of the CES stuff kicks off on Thursday. There'll be some stuff kicking off on Wednesday, but we'll see exactly what's going on. I'll make sure that I post in the community section. I'll post all the press conferences and the times and where to watch them at, so that you guys know exactly where to catch CES live at. And then, of course, I'll do some recap videos. Sometimes the content might be a little slow because I will be on site, and it's going to be a good time. Yeah, I am interested in projectors, especially the ultra short throws, the new ones, the triple lasers. I'm very excited about projectors, and this is something that I plan to get into these this year. So you can expect to see projector reviews on my channel if all things go according to plan. Ari, thank you. I appreciate that. You have a happy new year as well. Hope you're doing good. CES 23, I would love to see a 75-inch plus QD OLED. Well, I think you're going to get your wish. I believe there will be 77-inch QD OLEDs there. I'd be very shocked if there wasn't. Hisense making some good ones. Yeah, I heard the Hisense ultra short throws are really good. If you guys are watching right now, go ahead and type in chat. What are you guys hoping to see at CES? Let's get this conversation going. It's just me solo today, so we just gotta get some Q&A done and talk. That's really what I'm here to do. So let's get a conversation going. I'm gonna go back to the IRL, not IRL HDR, that's his old name. I'm gonna go back to High Def News, his Twitter right here, so you can see. This is a account you should definitely follow. So be sure to follow High Def News. He's talking about all these newses here, all these news. There's one from Tech Radar that he posted. Let's take a look at that. When can you expect to see some of the official announcements and stuff? I would expect the announcements to start rolling at around January 4th at the earliest, maybe January 3rd, but January 4th is when a lot of the stuff is scheduled, and I'll make sure I post all of that in the community section when to find all of the press conferences. They will be posted live and shown live on YouTube at the LG YouTube channel, on Sony's YouTube channel, Samsung's YouTube channel. So there will be an opportunity to watch all that stuff live if you are interested. If you're not and you just want to catch like the recaps, I'll definitely have all of that on this channel, and other content creators will have it as well. It'll be a great time. I'm very much looking forward to CES 2023. Getting to meet Stop the FOMO and Brandon be the installer. It's going to be great, as well as Techno Dad. He's going to be there as well. And I'm sure I'll get to meet a couple of other people I've been wanting to meet for a while, like Caleb, maybe even Vincent, if he's there. We'll see. It'll be fun talking to all the content creators. Maybe I'll meet a couple people that I wasn't even aware of that do this. And yeah, it would be really cool. I like this community. I think it's been really great to me. And I can't wait to see. I can't wait to be there, and it's going to be great. I talked about some of the speakers changes above with the LG. So LG is doing their WOW Orchestra, which is a lot like Q Symphony. And if you haven't seen that video, I did do a video talking about that. But I think that's pretty interesting that LG wants to adopt that same model to their TVs. So it's really cool. People like Q Symphony, so it makes sense. Will Max be there? Not this year. Unfortunately, he won't be there this year, but we've got some plans talking about how we're going to meet up next year, so it'll be cool. But yeah, no, Max is not going to be there this year. Neither is Classy. I'm going to try to get Classy to go next year too. I know he's not like really wanting to go, but I'm going to try to get him to go. Is Sony going to adopt MLA too? You know, it's interesting to think about because Sony usually does adopt the technologies that are new right away. I'm not sure. From what I'm hearing is Sony is sticking with QD OLED, but who knows about MLA? MLA has been sort of like a closed door, don't even know if it's coming this year type of situation. So it wouldn't shock me if Sony has some sort of MLA in some of their 80 series, you know, like maybe an A85 instead of the A80. Like maybe they go A80 just like base LG OLED, and then A85 is going to be like their step up from that, the MLA, and then A95 is going to be the QD OLED. And we'll see. And maybe they won't even do a new QD OLED. It's definitely possible. Awesome, we have Value Electronics in here. I'd love to meet up with you at CES, attending most of the press conferences. LG has their very first press conference at 8 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday at January 4th. Yeah, of course. Robert, I would love to meet up with you as well. I really like watching your content, like when you're on other people's channels. It's just a joy to listen to you talk about TV technology. So yeah, I'd love to pick your brain on some of this stuff. Very excited to meet you. Cali's Finest, he said, do you think that QD OLED will have higher peak brightness than 1500? I haven't heard anything going beyond this. I think 1500 right now is still the peak, but you know, I think certainly everything is possible. We've seen advancements in OLED technology where the peak brightness has gotten higher all of a sudden and nobody expected it. So we'll see. But right now, what I'm hearing is a peak of 1500. But of course, that is just like the peak highlights, not something that they can sustain for a very long time. When is the Samsung press conference? I believe it's January 4th as well. I'll have all that information on the community chat, when to watch all the press conferences. Yeah, absolutely, Robert. It's going to be great. Let's see. RL White with a really good question. Wait for 2023 OLEDs or buy a 2022 OLED? It's always a hard question because do you want to pay the extra premium for a 2023 OLED? I think this year is a unique circumstance because if they do end up doing the MLA technology, then maybe it is waiting. Maybe waiting is the right answer here. In previous years, when the technology hasn't really changed that much, like last year, for example, going from a C1 to a C2, I thought that buying a C1 at the time was the better answer because you're just saving a lot of money. And the difference between a C1 and a C2 wasn't gigantic. Now, with the MLA technology, this certainly could be a reason to wait for 2023 OLEDs. So yeah, I would absolutely wait because there is a lot of exciting news coming from CES, it sounds like, and waiting is never a bad idea. But once it comes out, I'll do a breakdown of the value and whether or not it'll be worth it for certain people, depending on what they want. Because sometimes it is hard to tell if something would be a better value. But overall, it's going to be up to you at the end of the day to determine that. Because when somebody asks me, is it worth it? That's hard for me to say, honestly. It just depends on what you need. Can the MLA technology beat QD OLED? I think that's certainly the question, right? One thing that I kind of struggle with MLA is how will it fare with the color volume? Is it going to solve that problem? Because that's the thing that QD OLED has over the WRGB OLED right now is color volume. So I think MLA technology, it'll make it brighter, but how will that affect color volume? And if it's not going to really do much with color volume, then I think you always have that advantage with QD OLED. But we'll see. You've heard that it can get up to 2000 nits of peak brightness. I think certainly I don't expect that number at all. I think what we'll probably see if MLA is shown, maybe 1500 nits peak, much like the QD OLED. And then that question remains to see if it will be raising the color volume at all with the way that they implement the technology. And that's a tough question to answer until we actually see what it does. In terms of LCD technology, what do you think of dual cell technology being the next step after mini LED? I don't know how Neo QLED or Hisense mini LED could get any better. It's a really good question. I've heard some mixed things about dual cell. I know some people really like that Hisense dual cell that came out, but a lot of other people were underwhelmed by it. It sounds like it's a technology that wasn't fully implemented correctly, like as much as the dual cells that you hear about in other displays. I'm sure it can go a little bit further, but to be honest with you, I don't know if there's any development with dual cell beyond what they've shown with Hisense, and it sounds like it was a one-off thing. I haven't heard any news about dual cell coming back. It sounds like mini LED is what everybody's going with. And could it get any better? Mini LED, of course it could get better. The way that it gets better is by the technology itself getting better and the processing itself getting better. So the way that Sony does algorithms or the way that Samsung does the dimming algorithms, that can improve. and the amount of zones that they put with these mini LEDs can improve as well. So you can always see improvements there, but it's just a matter of how they handle it. Could it get brighter as well? Certainly it could. But then you have that question of like the efficiency and how much power it's pumping out. And with some of the EU laws, that also remains to be a question that needs to be answered, because we don't know how that's going to affect the TV's brightness as well. So it'll be interesting for sure. The Sony BVM is dual cell. That's what people used to master in Hollywood, and that's why I thought it would eventually trickle down. Yeah, that's tough. I've been talking about this for a little bit as well, where we should see something like that. I wish to see something like that, but it doesn't sound like it can be fully implemented in a larger display as well as it does in something like that. So I think Robert would be a good person to ask about dual cell, because he has a lot more experience with dual cell. And I know he was really high on the dual cell TVs when they were announced. So yeah, Robert would be a good person to ask for that. He's in the chat right now. And he's saying that Samsung's electronics conference is going to be at 2 p.m. Wednesday on the 4th. I'm also invited to Samsung Display's private showing with the top engineer presenting the latest in QD OLED technology. Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't catch that one, but I'll definitely be at the press conference at 2 p.m. But I'm excited to hear about the latest in QD OLED technology for sure. Let's see. KG, the TVs are limited in resolution due to their size. Will TVs ever have decent PPI resolution? They would be crystal clear. That's a good question. I think one of the reasons why people love some of the Apple displays is because they have that, right? So yeah, limited in size for sure, but also I think resolution is one of those things where you do need to have the right size, but you also just need to have the right processing as well, because I've seen some of the bigger displays, say for example, a Sony. I've seen a 77-inch Sony next to a 77-inch LG, and the LG looked a lot softer than the Sony OLED did, mainly because of the processing. So you have that, screen door effect with some displays, but when you have good processing, a lot of that's eliminated because the processing just keeps getting better in these TVs. And I think right now Sony is doing it the best of all. So that's probably your solution there. I don't know if going higher resolution is the right way to go, or going up in size, because people have limited space in their house, so going up in size only makes so much sense for consumer electronics. I'm also very optimistic on Sharp's new 120-inch 8K monitor, and they will show the new lineup of mini LED QD TVs. Robert, I was wondering, do you know if Sharp is planning to launch these in the US, or is this something that's only going to be in global markets overseas? Because I wasn't clear on that when I read that. But I have been reading up on it, and it looks interesting for sure, because we haven't heard much from Sharp in the States in a while and regarding premium TVs. It'd be nice to see Sharp return to the US with premium TVs. It'd be nice to see Panasonic return with premium TVs. Philips, of course. It's been a while since we've had more competition, and I think more competition would be great for all consumers. So yes, if I have something to say about this, awesome. Yeah, that's cool. If you can lead the push to get Sharp here, that's awesome. Flyjock says 77-inch QD OLED next year. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. That's what the rumor is. Nova says, what if it does hit 2000 nits? Talking about MLA. That'd be really interesting. We'd definitely be talking about it a lot if that was the case. So we'll see. But I'm very skeptical that it will be able to hit 2000 nits peak. I know that's what they said when it was announced, but I'm expecting more like 1200, maybe 1500 at the max. But again, I don't know for sure. We haven't seen anything official about it. It's just been rumors so far. All right. So yeah, we'll open it up to Q&A up in here. I've been talking about it so far. But yeah, just go ahead and leave a comment with a question if you want your question answered. It doesn't even have to be about CES. It could be a general what should I buy TV question or anything like that. I'm just here to answer questions and hang out for a little bit. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I'm really excited. This is going to be my first CES conference, and well, my first one attending it live. I did cover it digitally, but the first time I've been there live, and I love Vegas, so it's just going to be a great time. It's going to be great. You just don't want LG to be great? Yeah, I actually do want LG to be great. I really, really want LG to be great because I think they do a lot for gamers. And as a gamer myself, if LG can just improve, I will definitely love that. I just think that Sony has a bit of a upper hand when it comes to like processing, things like that. But I think they're both great. And I think they both fit certain use cases a little bit better. KG, what are you personally most excited to see or experience at CES? There's a couple of things I want to personally see that I don't think we'll ever, see for consumers, but like some of the more things that aren't going to be pushed towards consumers. Like I've never seen a transparent OLED display. I might be able to see that. Sometimes they share stuff like that at CES. So I'm excited to see things like that, things that you normally wouldn't see as a consumer. I'm more excited to see technology advancements like that, like micro LED, for example. I've never seen micro LED, but I'm very excited to see it. And I think they might have a micro LED wall at CES, so very excited to see that, especially based on what everybody tells me about micro LED. So that's probably what I'm most excited to see. Now, what I'm most excited for, like in terms of announcements for consumer products, I think it would have to be MLA if it's announced, because it's going to give LG a little bit of a competitive play, Right now, I think that QD OLED is pressuring them a lot. Right now, they don't really have an answer for QD OLED, so maybe MLA will be that answer. We'll see. I went to Best Buy and they had an A80K next to an A95K and they looked identical. They had an X90K, the X90 next to the X95K, but the X90K looked better. It was so weird. Yeah, it does really just depend on how they set it up in store. So the way that they set up these TVs is they have store modes, but sometimes they don't put them in the store modes. And there's times where the store modes themselves have been switched or changed by an employee or somebody else in there, because sometimes they let consumers or they let customers play with the TVs a little bit. And I know, working there from experience, back in the day, I used to mess with the TVs as an employee. So I would always change the TVs from vivid to like other modes and test them for other people. I do think like it's a way to sometimes sell other products as well, but I don't know. That's a weird thing. It also has something to do with the lighting in the store itself. I know what you mean though. I was at Costco and the X90K was just really looking so much better than the what was it next to it? The QN85B. But then on the other row, the QN85B was looking a lot better than the QN90B that was next to it, and then the X90K that was next to that. It was just a different size. So it probably just depends on how the display is set up in the store and the lighting that's in the store as well. It's tough to judge TVs when they are in the store. I have a P-Series 75-inch from 2016. It was a Magnolia TV at the time, and it still looks awesome. Would a modern OLED be a big upgrade? I think a modern OLED, if you've never seen an OLED, would be an upgrade in the sense if you're in a dark room, I think. But if you're in a brighter room, something that you have, like the P-Series, might satisfy you a little bit more. I think it does really just depend on the room that you're in. You'll certainly see the contrast advantage that you get with an OLED, and it could be a big upgrade if you view it that way. If you're in a dark room, I certainly think it is an upgrade. But again, you're not going to get the same brightness level as the TV you currently have. Berserker said, even with QD OLED of a A95K, HDR popped more in the G2. Only thing A95K is better is color volume. Everything else is the same. Is LG better? Of course. X95K is nearly twice the price as the G2. So when I saw the A95K and the G2, I thought that the A95K showed a significant advantage, not only in that color volume department, but in processing as well. I just felt like images were presented clear no matter what I was watching. Even if I'm watching, say, a 4K source, some of the lower resolution elements in that 4K source would look a little bit clearer to me. So I do think that it has a lot to do with processing as well. HDR popping more in the G2. I don't know where you saw it or if you had them side by side. That could also be like depending on the tone mapping that it's been using. So if you had dynamic tone mapping on for the G2, then maybe you get that sense that it popped a little bit more. That's certainly a possibility. But I think when I put them side by side, all things were equal, I felt like the A95K did have that advantage there. But I will say that picture pop, you know, people will see saturation more so than anything, and I do feel like the G2 is pretty saturated out of the box, so that could be another reason why you felt the G2 popped more than the A95K. Should I return my A80K and either see if the A95K goes on sale or wait for Sony's new OLEDs? I think it really just depends on if you want to pay up, because if you're waiting for Sony's new OLEDs, you are going to pay up quite a bit over what you paid for your A80K. Assuming you bought it recently, since you said you could return it still, it means you probably are in return policy. So I do think like you're not going to find a good deal like that anytime soon. You'll probably have to wait till November of next year in order to get something similar in terms of a deal. Now, the chances of the next iteration of the A80K being so much better is quite low. I think you'd probably have to be jumping up a model, maybe something like the new A95K, whatever they end up calling it. But again, you will be paying quite a bit more for it. So that's a tough question. I think if it's within your budget and you're fine with waiting and you like what you have right now, then maybe that would be a good thing to do. But if you're just upgrading your TV and you're really satisfied with what you're getting with your A80K, maybe just keep the A80K, because otherwise you'll be paying up. So that's one of the questions I get all the time is, should I wait for a new TV? But if you wait, you are going to be paying that difference in price, especially at launch. And these prices at launch aren't necessarily good deals. but you get the advantage of getting it earlier than everybody else. And whether you see that advantage or not is going to be up to you. It seems that if Sony comes to CES with the MediaTek upgrade, HDMI across all ports, and upgraded processor, they will steal the show, assuming their pricing isn't ridiculous. I don't really think that they would steal the show for that, but I do expect them to maybe have an iteration on top of their XR processor, like maybe call it like the XR Extreme or the XR Ultimate. That's my prediction. That's what I think might happen. And of course, comes with that the new MediaTek upgrade, where they have a better implementation of HDMI 2.1 features, especially across all 4 ports, and not having to go into the extra menus to get some of the settings to work properly for those HDMI 2.1 ports. I think that would be nice, but I don't think they would steal the show necessarily for that. They'd probably have to show off a little bit more, especially for gamers. I'm expecting them to show off something for gamers in terms of maybe a game bar menu. That's what everybody's hoping for, and if they listen to consumers, that's what we should see. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw none of that, and Sony was just upgrading their models in terms of picture quality a little bit. But I do hope CES for Sony is going to be better than last year, because I did feel like Sony's CES was a bit weak last year compared to everybody else's. In fact, I think I gave them a great C overall for last year, and everybody else got like a B. I pray for Panasonic QD OLED, although the price will make my wallet whimper. Yeah, QD OLED from Panasonic would be nice. We don't get Panasonic here in the States, so I'm really jealous. But I'm hearing that that's a possibility. Panasonic apparently has been looking into QD OLED, so if they adopt QD OLED, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay, I have both A95K and 55-inch and the G2 and 77-inch. Maybe it's because of the size difference. LG popped more. Anyway, love your content as always. Peace. Thank you. Yeah, like I mentioned also, like that difference, people do feel like Sony OLEDs in general feel a little bit duller with the color out of the box when it's next to an LG. I felt this myself as well. Like the G2 certainly looked a lot, had more picture pop, so to speak, than like an A80J that was next to it when it was in its default picture modes. Like when I have it on custom compared to like filmmaker mode, I felt like the G2 did have a little bit more saturation. And as a result of that, yeah, I could see what you're saying there. It could be the size difference, but I think it might be more of that out of the box difference. To get the A95K to pop a little bit more, try live color out, see if that makes a difference for you. Some people like advanced contrast enhancer for the Sony. It does work a little bit different than the Samsung's advanced contrast enhancer. Any guesses on C3 pricing, specifically in the 77 format? That's tough. I think it's a possibility that we might see $34.99 for like a launch price, maybe $29.99. Launch prices are really hard because I do expect them to drop the C3 pricing a little bit this year, because it will, especially if they're showing off the MLA stuff, they're going to need to sort of discount that C3 lineup. But we'll see. They usually just kind of follow trend of what Samsung's doing with the 90 series. And as long as they're competitive with that series, they won't drop it much more than that. So, yeah, it's tough to say. I'll definitely do a price prediction thing once I see all the models. I have fun with that. 77 inch is hard to predict, though. Sometimes they do price it a bit more than it probably should be. Seems like C2 is going to be a compelling choice in 2023 still. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about what they can do to the C3, they're probably not going to put MLA technology in the C3 if that's what's introduced, right? They'll probably save that for the G series. The C3 might get a processor upgrade. I don't see anything beyond that. Maybe a little bit of boost in brightness. Maybe using a more next generation panel or something like that. That's a possibility. But that price difference between the C3 and the C2 at launch, that's going to be tough for a lot of people. And the upgrade that they did last year was to the design. That's going to carry over to the C3 already. So you're not going to have too much of a difference between the C3 and the C2, I don't think. So I think the C2 is going to be a really good bargain for a lot of people. If you're waiting for the C3, maybe think about the C2. That might be the best bet for a lot of people. You're going to be gambling when you're in Vegas? Probably. I might play a little bit of the slots here and there. I just like doing it for fun. I don't play anything hardcore. I think I play like penny slots sometimes. My limit's probably going to be like $200. That's it. That's my gambling limit. But I'm going to have a little bit of fun here and there. But it'll be cool. And what gambling? Yeah, I guess other than slots, that's probably it. Maybe some blackjack. I don't know. They have Texas Hold'em still. I might play some of that. You never know. Probably not, though. I'm going to be so busy at CES that I don't know how much time I'll have for that. Bet the Cowboys for the Super Bowl. That's not happening. Not after... Nah, man. They were kind of struggling yesterday. It was kind of scary. I don't think I would bet the Cowboys. Are there any audio releases you're hoping for? I'm wondering about the Sonos Arc 2. Also wondering if Samsung will improve upon the Q990B. I think you will see Samsung improve with the audio. They do it every year. And what they're doing with their soundbar and their combination of soundbars with what they're offering for like that home theater in a box, it's getting really good. That Q990B was greatly reviewed by most people and they loved it. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to hear that one, but everybody that bought one that watches my channel told me about and they love it. So I think, you know, what Samsung's doing with the Q Symphony, with their line of soundbars, it's really good. And some people don't like soundbars, and that's definitely okay, but you have to understand that some use cases for soundbars make sense. Like if you were in a smaller room or a closed off room, even like a den or something with a door on it, a soundbar makes a lot of sense for a room like that. So I totally get soundbars. I know it's not the best sound for everybody, but some people really enjoy soundbars and they're getting better. They're getting better for sure. Let's see. Is the QD OLED technology patented for Samsung and Sony only, or will LG have a QD OLED in 2023? So Samsung Display makes QD OLED. I think if LG wanted to buy from Samsung Display, they certainly could. I don't know if there's anything preventing that. I just think they're too stubborn to, or maybe even Samsung Display doesn't want to sell to LG, but I don't know the whole like reason why it's not happening, but something tells me it's LG being stubborn and wanting to do their own thing. It's kind of like the whole will Samsung get Dolby Vision thing, or will LG get HDR10 plus, you know? I don't think either are going to happen. So it's probably more so that. What about the LG S80QY? Is that the mid-range one or is that the more upper range one? So what LG is doing this year is they're going to roll over some of their soundbars. So some of their 2022 soundbars, the mid-range ones, are going to be carried over into 2023. They're going to have some models introduced for 2023. But this 2022 soundbars are going to get an upgrade as well. So it's an upper range. Yeah, so they're probably going to show off a new one. I did a video talking about two of the models they introduced. I can't remember off the top of the head what they were, but I think there were a 3.1.3 channel soundbar that they're talking about. So I I don't know if anything else beyond that was announced just yet. But I imagine. Will companies make 3D TVs? I was wondering this as well. I think if they are, maybe you won't see that until like CES 2024, 2025. There has to be more of a demand for it. I think when you're talking about the Avatar, that's, you know, that was re-released, and then the sequel was released in 3D. So there's a demand for it, but I don't know if there's a huge demand for it. And last time it was a colossal failure. It was a colossal failure in a lot of people's minds, and manufacturers for TVs lost a lot of money because of it. So I don't know that that will ever come back, but people certainly want it. A lot of people do. It's just a majority of people have to want it more for it to actually happen. And I wouldn't expect something like this till 2025, but maybe 2024 if it's loud enough. Who knows? I want it to come, but I don't think you'll see it. 3.1.3. Yeah, so there was something in that video that I did talking about a new model for that. So you might want to check out that video where I talk about the new WOW orchestra that they're introducing, which is similar to Q Symphony that Samsung does. Never thought Samsung would make an OLED TV, so you never know. If LG will adopt QD OLED, but highly doubt it. Yeah, true. Samsung messed around with OLED TVs in the past, but it's good to see them come back with it. It's a possibility, but I think LG is kind of on their own thing. They're really banking on this MLA. QD OLED versus WOLED is good for us consumers. Competition equals better TVs at cheaper prices. I fully agree with this. All the technology advancements are always good for consumers because it pushes down the older technology. And the difference between QD OLED and WRGB OLED, for most people, it just gives them an opportunity to get the older technology cheaper. And it's very comparable in a lot of content. You're really only seeing a separation in certain content. So yeah, QD OLED is great, but it's really a premium technology that I think enthusiasts will appreciate more so than just a regular person. You notice that the S95B jacked their price back up to $2,000 for the 65, while C2 is staying strong at 1,700. Yeah, you'll see these price fluctuations right after the holidays all the time. It's just what they do, and you'll see another price drop pretty soon. I'm expecting a mid-January, maybe late January price drop. You're gonna see the prices for all the TVs drop again during the Super Bowl time. So it's just what they do. They push the prices back up, and if people want to buy a TV, they kind of have to buy it at that price. But that's why I encourage people that if you're buying a TV, if you're in the market to buy a TV, educate yourself with price memory and understand that sites like Camel exists where you can see like the price drops and the price increases and what the lowest price was before. And you can see like if it floored out at a certain price, chances are it will hit that price again. That's just the way that TV sales work. So just educate yourself on some of the TV prices if you're buying a TV, and I'll try to make that a little bit easier by making videos that will, you know, showcase this and address this. And I always post sales in community chat as well. Tito says, I just got my A95K and wow, it's the best picture quality I've ever seen. Got it for 65-inch for 2,700. That's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, A95K was stunning. It was something that really did blow me away. So, yeah, I liked it a lot. I always say that the A95K is the best TV that most people won't buy, but the people that do end up buying it will be so satisfied with it. It's just a premium look as well. I enjoy that premium look that they have on that TV. I know some people aren't fans of the way that the stand design is, but I did find it really nice. 85-inch QN900B is on my buy list for March and April. Goal price is $4,500. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I've seen some employee pricing for that, close to that. So if you have an EDU account with Samsung or an employee pricing account, like based on like 200, 300 retailers or something that they use that for employees, I don't even know exactly who gets the benefits there, but I know I've seen that price very close to that number. So I think it's very possible. And I don't have access to those prices. I can just see what people are getting on them. But I can't check out, unfortunately. Because there's some really good deals. There's a 55-inch S95B on there right now for $1,014. So pretty good. Pretty good. In OLED TV, does the darker colors turn black? You're just talking about like dark blue, dark red, things like that? If so, no. I never experienced this. But if you want to elaborate on this, I can try to answer it a little bit better. But if you're talking about just general dark colors turning black, I don't ever get that sense. If that was happening, there's a chance that you had too much black crush going on. Maybe the black levels were turned down too much. I know there's a thing that people do with some of their OLED TVs that for some reason they crank the blacks down even more than the default level. And that will result in a little bit more black crush, and that would probably crush out colors as well. He might be talking about black crush. Yeah, I think that's what he's probably talking about. If you're talking about like within shadows and stuff where you just can't see anything, yeah, for sure. You get this complaint a lot about OLED TVs. I have employee pricing, and I can get the QN85B 85-inch for $2,400. Should I get that or pay $2,300 for a 77-inch C2 in a dark basement? In a dark basement, I think either one would satisfy you. You'll see a little bit of blooming on the QN85B, but it is a VA panel, and if that size difference means a lot to you, I would probably go with the QN85B. It gets a lot brighter, and I was impressed with the TV. So 85-inch for $2,400 is always a good deal in my mind. If I were you personally, I'd probably go with the 85, but just know that you're not going to get that same amount of contrast that you would with that 77-inch C2. The good question about the polarizers. So, I think this is a real good example. I think most people probably don't notice it, and they probably don't have a situation where they care that it's there. But in your case, you took it back because of that reason. So you must have had some sort of ambient light going on in your room or something that generally made you experience this problem. And that's something that was talked about. There's some rumors that Samsung might be addressing this. So for you, you might have something to look forward to with CES, because there was talk that they might be using a polarizer in the new QD OLEDs. So we'll see. I have heard this complaint before, but it is rare, believe it or not. A lot of people don't notice it, or they don't find it to be a problem. And the benefit to this is that the actual reflections that's coming off of the screen are greatly reduced because of this. Bright living room, very bright. It was apparent to me, and it took me out of it. It came from a C9, and it just wasn't the same. Interesting. Yeah, so for you, I honestly think that if you haven't tried to go to an LCD TV, some of the top LCD TVs might be more satisfying to you, because the black levels that they can get to is generally pretty good already, and the brightness of those TVs will overcome a bright living room anyway. So I would look at mini LED unless you've already looked that way and that's not satisfying to you. But as far as the like polarizer goes, I think that's going to be fixed this year, from what I'm hearing. Good old KG recommends a QN85B over a C2 only because of the size, right? Like if we're talking about 75-inch versus a 77-inch, then okay. But if we're talking about an 85-inch versus a 77-inch and it's close, and I think it is close. I've seen the QN85B. I think it's fantastic. Honestly, it's not much worse than a QN90B other than, you know, it just can't get to the same brightness levels. But you're talking about an 85-inch premium TV versus a 77-inch premium TV. It's not a huge difference there to me. So I'm going with the bigger TV. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, even in a dark room. Even in a dark room, because the TV in a dark room will be fine. You're not talking about an IPS or ADS panel anymore. So the VA panel is coming with the 85-inch, and I think it'll be great for him. I had a 65-inch Q90T in a dark room, and I thought it was more satisfying than my previous TV, which was a 65-inch C7. So people be surprised when they see the black levels on an LCD TV. It gets a lot of flack because of blooming, but the only time you really run into blooming is like subtitles, logo screens, things like that. If you're watching an OLED demo, for example, you can definitely pull out some blooming examples, but in regular content, most people hardly ever really go through it. Yeah, QN85B is underlooked for sure. FOMO really loved the QN85B as well. The contrast levels on the QN85B absolutely blew me away. I thought it was really good. Probably my surprise TV of the year. Other than the S95B. The S95B was mainly a surprise because nobody expected it. It wasn't even announced at CES, you know. So, but taking that out of the equation, I think the QN85B was a surprise to me. It's the first TV I reviewed too. And I was expecting the QN90B to be like so much better, and it wasn't. So that was a huge surprise to me. Cheeto says, I also got the U8H 65 for $800, waiting for delivery. Hope it lives up to the hype. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things from the U8H. Let me know how you like that once you get it. All right, guys, I'll be here for 30 more minutes answering questions. I'll try to get to all the questions in the chat. If you guys have any direct questions to leave, you can leave a super chat to ask that question if you want to support the channel, or you can put a question mark in front of the question, and I'll get to your question. You can ask the question regularly too, but sometimes I do miss it if it gets wrapped up in discussion. So question mark in front of the question or a super chat, that's the best way to do it. MLA coming in 2023 or 2024. It's actually a possibility for 2023. Flat Panels HD has said they have strong sources that say that it's coming in 2023. You know, whether or not we can believe those sources, we don't know. But the fact that that information is out there is really good, I think. And I'm not surprised if it comes in 2023. Like I've said in my MLA video that I did, I am expecting it. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me if it's there this year, but it also wouldn't shock me if it wasn't. AKG, I just hit you up on Instagram. Okay, I'll check that out. I'll check that out after the stream. And yeah, if you guys ever want to reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter, I am on both. So yeah, just search me on both platforms and give me a follow. I'm always answering questions on there as well. Do LG remotes need updating, or are they good as is? As far as I know, I don't think they have like firmware updates. If you're talking like in general, do you think, are you asking if I think they need to be updated? If that's the question, then yes, I think it needs to be updated. But if you're saying, can they be updated? I don't think they can be. I don't think there's like a firmware system for them. But in terms of like this remote, I think yes, it can get better. And I've said that before. A hardware revamp? Yeah, no, I absolutely think it can. I do. And do you see how it has the numbers on it? I think that's going away. I know a lot of people like the numbers, but you've seen Sony take the numbers off theirs, and Samsung already did that before. I do think you'll see a revamped controller for LG. Be interesting. It has been a while since they've revamped the total like design of it. I know they just added the Magic Tap not too long ago, and they changed the like form factor of it, but I do think they should update it. And of course, yeah, maybe a backlight, but if you have a really good like controller, you won't need a backlight because you'll know intuitively where all the buttons are. How can I donate money to your channel? I appreciate that. The best way to do it would be a super chat. That would be the best way to do it. So if you go to comments, post a comment or post in chat right now, you can see where it says super chat on the side of the chat bar. That would be the best way to do it. You can also leave a super thanks on any of my videos. That's the best way. I don't take direct donations, but I will take that. And I appreciate everyone that does that, but it is never required, of course. I answer questions for free all the time, and that's never going to change. I work for a big box electronics retailer. Super excited for 2023 OLED TVs, especially once I take advantage of my employee discount. I hear that. I hear that. When I used to work for Best Buy, I loved buying those TVs on discount. Especially since, like, one of the great things about working at a retailer like that and you buy a TV, the actual, like, protection plans are dirt cheap. I got like a 5-year protection plan for 20 bucks when I worked at Best Buy. And it actually came in handy because I just redeemed my TV that had some issues, which was a Q7FN, and I ended up getting $1,400 back on a gift card. So I was really, that came in handy. What's with the new laser TV trend? It's an ultra short throw projector, but I'm seeing people call it a laser TV. It's kind of annoying. So that's like just the marketing terminology for the Hisense. They just call it their laser TV. And they just have like the screen they set up with it that makes it the laser TV. But yeah, you're right. It's just a laser. I mean, it's just a short throw, right? It's just an ultra short throw projector, triple laser. So that's why they got the moniker laser TV. Do you get any discounts? I do not. I get 0 discounts. So, yeah, it's weird. You would think there would be like a content creator discount. I believe some people do it. B&H does it for cameras and stuff. But I'm not signed up for that. I don't think they have one for like TVs. But you would think some retailers would do that. I think that's something you might see in the future. I'm not saying they deserve it or anything. I just think it's kind of weird that they don't have that. Let's see. iCypher, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate the donation, man. That means a lot. Thank you. Let me look what we got here. Out of time. Any word on the MediaTek chipset? No real like confirmation or talk about it yet, but the rumors are, yes, it is definitely probably going to be in these TVs. I'd be surprised, right? Like, if they don't put it in their TVs, that'd be a bummer. EHJ coming through with the super chat. My fellow Broncos fan, to one Bronco to another Broncos country. Happy late birthday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. Many safe blessings and more growing and greatness for your channel and all your dreams for 2023. Finally made it to the stream. Awesome, EHJ. Good to see you. Go Broncos for sure. We're going to beat the Chiefs. I know it's crazy. But just think about it, right? The interim head coach thing is going to happen. It's going to happen. I feel great about it. It's going to finally happen. I'm a little too optimistic about it. It's probably not going to happen, but if we put good energy out there, you might see it. Thank you, EHJ, man. I really appreciate your support. Rachel with the super chat, thank you. She says, I see the G1 on sale clearance for $9.99, which is a really good price, by the way. I really want the S95B, but I missed the sale. Is it still worth getting the G1 or the C2? The G1 has Dolby Atmos. Yeah, it does have Dolby Atmos support, no doubt about it. The G1 and the C2 are very similar TVs. I do think it is still worth getting the G1. It's a great price. No doubt about it. It's a great price. So if you get the G1 for 55-inch for $9.99, I wouldn't fault you at all for that. I think it's a great TV. The S95B will probably drop in price though if you're more patient down the line. I could see it. The bottom line on that TV has not been hit yet. So I definitely see it happening. But if you settled for, it's not even really settling. I think the G1 is a good TV. But thank you, Rachel, for the super chat. Alexander, thank you also for the super chat. He says, KG, keep up the good work. I can't wait to see your stream at CES 2023. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to try to do multiple streams. I'm going to maybe do like a walking on the street stream. I don't know if you guys are interested in that. Try to stream when I hang out with FOMO and Brandon. Maybe we'll get like a group stream going. I'm sure you'll see me on their channel as well, so make sure you subscribe to their channels if you're not already. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited for CES. It's like, one of my things is I've never gotten to do a business trip before, and I'm finally getting to do a business trip, and it's in Las Vegas. I'm like, wow, that's just awesome. Like, you get to have fun and be on business at the same time. I can't wait, I got them bombs. I'm here because I searched for OLED and CES predictions too many times. Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. If you want to stay up to date on all the CES information, this is a good place to go. But if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow, gosh, why do I keep forgetting it? It's High Def News on Twitter. I keep wanting to say IRL HDR News, but yeah. Stop the FOMO. Yeah, Stop the FOMO is my boy. Make sure you check out his channel as well. Just make sure you're able to wall mount the G1. It comes with no stand and only a wall mount. This is a really good point. Thank you, EHJ, for bringing this up. Yeah, if you're not wall mounting, then the G1 might be more of a inconvenience because you do have to get a stand for it. So if you're not going to wall mount it, that could be an inconvenience. But if you are wall mounting it, then it is a convenience because you get the wall mount with it. Of course, you get that 5-year warranty as well. Really great. I'm glad you put that comment, EHJ, and that's my bad for omitting that. I didn't mean to leave that one out. What's your favorite OLED in 2022? Well, if we're talking about QD OLED included, I really think that the A95K is like the best of the best. But my favorite is still the S95B. It just fits more of my personal like style a little bit better, and I also think it's a really good value. Other than that, I like the G2 a lot. Those three are my big ones. I wasn't too thrilled with the C2 or the A80K. I think they're great, but they didn't seem like that much of an improvement over their predecessors. So the G2 was nice, and the A95K was absolutely incredible. And I think that's the one that's like the most premium, the best TV that you can buy if you don't worry about money, for example, then that would be the one to get. But the S95B is not too far off of that. So I'd say the S95B is my favorite. And it's the one that I have in my bedroom as well. I just think that the bargain for it was really good. And I just love it. Yeah. S95B King. Hard to argue. I just think the value is really good. Hiya, Happy New Year tomorrow, everyone. Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome, Steven. It's good to see you. I want more hertz, but the new gaming monitors, LG 240 hertz, Asus Endgame Spectrum, old, are using old panels. Okay. So they're using the old panels. Seems to be a way to get rid of the old panels. Yeah, that's one of the things that I was looking at as well. A lot of people seem to be noticing that older panels are being used in some of the monitors, and I don't expect some of the newer panels in the monitors for a while. I don't even know if they cut them that. So the way that the mother glass works is they cut them down, and then they use it for other things. So if they're using, say, an 83-inch, whatever's left over, sometimes it goes to a monitor, sometimes it doesn't. Just depends on how big the mother glass is that they cut. It really just depends. And I don't know how that works in terms of like the process that they use. I would love to see newer panels being used. But even in the 42-inch, we've gotten reports that sometimes the older panels used for those. But I think as of late, most of the people have been saying that they've been the EX panel variants. So, but you're right about the monitors being old panels. If we're talking about OLED specifically, that's what I was talking about. We want 8K QD OLED at reasonable prices. 8K QD OLED is not going to be a reasonable price, I'll tell you that. I don't know what's a reasonable price for 8K QD OLED though. Maybe it would be reasonable depending on what you think, but yeah, when that's announced, I expect that to be like their premium TV, especially if it's Samsung. Samsung puts a huge premium on 8K. EHJ says, what would be the one or two things that would shock you at CES that you didn't see coming for 2023 TVs? All right, number one would be 3D TV. If I see a 3D TV at CES, I'll probably just be very shocked. I don't expect that at all. The next thing is, wow, that's really hard. What would be the other thing that would shock me? So 3D TVs for sure. The other thing that would shock me is if Samsung was like, hey, we're supporting Dolby Vision this year. That would shock me as well. I don't expect either of those things. But yeah, if you really want to shock me, that would shock me. Or hey, micro LED is now affordable. That would shock me. 77-inch for 5,000. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. We'll certainly see. We'll certainly see. But we are talking about 8K, and they like to overprice 8K. Or not overpriced, but yeah, I guess it is overpriced. Let's call it what it is. Yeah, I think it's possible. I got them bombs. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. How long before we get a 77-inch OLED at around $2,000? Oh, that's a good question. So I think it's just wait a couple more months and you'll see it. So you could probably see the C2 hitting that around the Super Bowl, maybe. I think that's certainly possible. Maybe not the Super Bowl. Let me reiterate that. So when the new TVs release around April, expect it, because Super Bowl is usually the Black Friday prices, just like the same prices as Black Friday. So March, April, right around when the newer TVs are released, you could see the C1 or the C2. Sorry, you could see the C2 going to $2,000. I bet. Definitely not out of the realm of possibility. If you have like a direct retailer near you, like some of the direct retailers, like Value Electronics, for example, if you're near them, when it's closeout time, they will probably give you a really good deal. There's video only on the West Coast. I know a lot of people get really good deals on 77-inch OLEDs when they have the closeout time. So if you're trying to save the money and go that route, but if we're talking about like consumer places like Best Buy, you would maybe expect 2,000 like around March, April. FOMO did a video about the 95-inch OLED TV potentially this year from Samsung. Yeah, I saw that video. That would be crazy. I would like to see something like that. If something like that's at CES as well, I would love to see that in person. I have never personally seen a TV, not a projector, but a TV that was bigger than 85 inches. That would be the biggest TV that I've seen. So, you know, when I see some of these bigger TVs, I'm probably going to be kind of shocked, honestly. I can't wait. Hello everyone, I just saw on YouTube LG OLED 8K resolution playing 4090 RTX liquid cooled GPU, no complaints. That's pretty impressive, yeah. 4090 is a very powerful card. And I love that they're pushing 8K resolution with it. That's cool. Hello from Israel. We want to see QNED mini LED 8K models or 4K mini LED QNED 90 or 91. When can we see the launch? So if you're talking about the 2022 launch, they actually canceled the QNED series for LG. Are we going to see it next year? I think that remains to be seen, but this year they canceled it, unfortunately. So the 90 series and the 99 series, the 91 series, all of that was canceled for 2022. So I won't expect to see that at all. And I was hearing rumors, nothing concrete here, just talk, that it might not even be something that's on their agenda for 2023. So we'll see. That's a really good question. But yeah, it was canceled if you weren't familiar with that. It's not coming this year anymore. Those are great responses, hoping for 3D TV too. Yeah, I mean, everybody's like really hyped off of Avatar for 3D again. I think it's really cool. I really think that 3D was probably ahead of its time. Like, if you think about it, the biggest complaints with 3D was probably the brightness level, right? And then, like, you put 3D TV on some of these bright Samsung TVs, I don't think it would be a problem anymore. So I would love to see if they're having the capability to bring 3D. Wait, the B2 was at 2000 for the 77 inch. You're right, it was. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I was talking about the C2 specifically, but you're right. The B2 is a really good deal, and you would probably expect it to go back down to 2000, like around Super Bowl time. So yeah, if you're okay with the B2, which I think it's certainly a great TV, then 2000 for a 77 inch is very doable. Very soon, actually. Ultra and Nightmare is bad to the bones. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Do you think C3 will support 120 hertz? Oh, sorry. 120 hertz BFI. That's a really good question. I was shocked kind of that they removed this from their OLED TVs last year. The A80K didn't have this as well, I believe. And not having it on the C3 kind of bummed a lot of people out who utilized it. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if it did have it. You know, I don't know what it takes for them to add it and why they removed it in the first place. I hope they do, because some people really want this feature. So I don't know. I don't have an answer, unfortunately, but that's a good question, and I'll put that on my list of things to find out. Had an S95B, had to return it. Don't know if it was defective or not, but dark scenes were so dark. There was zero shadow detail. Like, all dark scenes were straight up black. Interesting. What settings were you using for this? Because I heard a lot of people complain about Black Crush with the S95B out of the box as well. Sometimes you have to break it in, and it just gets better with time. But it also really depends on the settings that you're using. A lot of people, after the update, filmmaker mode was too dark for them, and that's understandable if they're used to something brighter. Raising the shadow detail definitely helps with the sliders. But yeah, it's possible you had a defective one if it was that dark, where you saw zero shadow detail. There's certainly some Black Crush in S95B by default, but I never had this issue where it was like no shadow detail at all. So it's possible it was defective. but it's hard to know unless I've seen it, right? Um, it still hits like 40 in the settings that look good. That looks good on a 8K TV. Yeah, I mean, and if the VRR goes down to that, then it shouldn't be a problem with smoothness, right? And there's things that you could tweak to get that FPS a little bit higher, I bet. Yeah, I would be interested to see that in person. 8K gaming. I don't think I've ever seen 8K. Like I've seen 8K TVs in the store, but I don't think I've seen native 8K content on a big 8K TV. And like the 8K that I've seen wasn't impressive, but I don't think I've seen 8K the way you're meant to see it yet. So I don't want to just like write it off and say 8K sucks, you know? Like it's one of those things, like people were saying the same thing about 4K where they're like, ah, yeah, 4K, you don't need it. And then now look at everybody when they see 1080p, they're like, well, why'd you do that to me? Like I could tell the difference between 1080p and 4K like instantly now. So yeah, I don't want to write off 8K just yet, but I do think you need a big display to appreciate 8K. A lot of questions. Around what time do you think the 2023 OLEDs will be released for sale or pre-orders? You expect this around late March, early April. Typically, that's when they release. Pre-orders usually start around mid-March. And this will never change, so you can apply this from year to year. That's just TV release season. It's March, April. And I would expect mid-March is where you see pre-orders pop up. Yeah, step up the series. Getting the C series at 77 would be insane. Yeah, it would be cool. I don't think there's a huge difference between the B and the C. Like the difference would probably be like the banding, but you can clean that up with smooth gradation. And if you're gaming, then you know maybe the banding would be a problem on the B series, but for regular content, I think the B series would be just fine for most people. Is the C series better? Yeah. But I don't think that it's that much better by like $500. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be a bad thing to buy the B series, but I do think the C series will probably drop down to 2000. I could see people not paying for the active 3D glasses because it was like $50 or more for them. Even though I enjoyed them, LG could bring back passive 3D. The glasses weren't that much. Yeah, I think people would. I just feel like it was ahead of its time. I think that 3D would catch on way better this like if it was introduced in this generation. I just think it had too much going against it. My S95B keeps getting better. No settings changes. The break-in period is true. That being said, I stopped my firmware on 12.11 and never upgraded. Yeah, if you're happy with your firmware, you know, doing what you did is a really good bet, especially if you're a gamer, you know, because they like to change a lot of these settings in game mode, and it will throw people off if they don't know what changed. Yeah, Vizio. So this is a really good question, Nathan. Vizio in 2023, they don't really show their TVs at CES. They don't really show their CES. They don't actually show their TVs at all until like summer. So around the summertime is you'll see some Vizio news, and whether or not they're going to upgrade their TVs remains to be seen. It's tough, right? Like I really wish that they would do something to come back because they were really good for consumers. And when Vizio was decent, they were a kind of competitive force, right? People actually appreciated Vizio, but now I think they got this reputation of being a buggy mess, and you're right. That's their identity crisis. They don't really seem to care either. They really just seem to push their, you know, their menu system with all the ads on it, their SmartCast OS. It is a mess. I'm unfortunate. Like, unfortunately, Vizio is far gone. I think they're never coming back to their roots. It doesn't seem like they care. And I've tried to reach out personally to Vizio, and I just can't get any responses from them. And nobody seems to be able to really be able to talk to Vizio. Like, you never see anybody talking about Vizio anymore. And I don't think they make an effort to reach out to people. And they certainly haven't been at CES for a while. I could be wrong. Maybe they're at CES this year and they shock me. I don't know. I hope so, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Because, you know, Vizio, they showed their OLEDs in 2021, 2022, and you haven't heard anything since. So last year they did the M series, the M Quantum series, but no improvements really. We do have to consider Samsung rushed their QD OLEDs and Sony took their time to release theirs. Yeah, Sony definitely took their time. Sony took so much of their time that it kind of disappointed me. Because I had so many plans to like compare multiple TVs, and that didn't plan out because Sony pushed back their QD OLEDs like 3 months straight. And yeah, maybe Samsung did rush, because they certainly did go to the market first, unexpectedly too, right? Does the G1 have a new updated WebOS? Yes, it does. I don't know if it's the same OS that's in the C2 where you can switch users and all that. I'm not sure, but I would imagine that's not a hard update to do. I'll have to check on my C1 and I'll get back to you. Since you hit me up on Instagram, I'll let you know if my C1 has the updated WebOS where you can change users and all that. Because really, from the C1 to the C2, in terms of the OS, there wasn't much that changed. Some settings adjustments and stuff, but nothing game breaking, nothing like that you'd be missing if you got a G1. I've seen Z9K local dimming. Oh, sorry. I've seen Z9K in a local gaming hub kind of place. It looked impressive, to be honest, but I don't think anyone is going to play in 8K anytime soon. Still, most people playing in 1080p, 1440p. Yeah, I think you're right. The average consumer is probably not going to be buying a 4090. But it's cool that it's out there and they have that option. But you're right. I think 8K is still far off. Still far off. It's been a decade since 3D. Yeah, it's been a while, huh? I remember I had a 3D Vizio, and we were just talking about Vizio, and I liked that 3D Vizio TV. It was really nice. I think mine was a 40-inch TV as well. Really cool stuff. You had the Samsung. That's awesome. Any reason to update from 2022 to 2023? I have a G2. If you have a G2, unless the MLA is going to be like mind-blowing, and I'll let you know if it is, I don't see a real reason to do it. I wouldn't even upgrade a G2 to a QD OLED or anything like that. I just think it's fine, right? Like, you should be happy with the G2. I imagine you'll be happy with it for a few years before you find any reason to upgrade it. The difference would be like MLA technology, and if that makes the OLEDs better in the G series this year, it can get brighter. So maybe the G3 will be brighter than the G2, but will it have more color volume? That remains to be seen. And will it be that much of a difference in real content? That also remains to be seen. So until we actually get to compare the G2 to the G3, it's tough to really give a call on that one. But generally, there's no reason to jump from year to year, unless you're changing it to a different room and you just want to upgrade something anyway. KG, honest opinion, absolutely best one for straight gaming, 83-inch, A90J, 83-inch C2, or 77 G2. If you're just talking about like size here, and size plays a big factor, then the 83-inch C2 is probably going to be my choice for gaming. But the A90J is good too. It's really tough because if you want extra gaming features like the game bar, things like that, it depends on how much you put stock into that and how much you put stock into like input lag. Then the C2 would probably be your best bet because it is the biggest one of the bunch here. And overall, you might be more impressed with that because of the size. There are some uniformity issues with the 83-inch OLEDs, unfortunately, though. So that's something you want to look into first. The 77-inch G2 would be impressive. I know that Classy Tech himself, he took back the 83-inch G2 for a 77-inch G2 because of uniformity issues. He had some issues with pink tint, and then some vertical banding as well. So you want to look into the size disadvantages for sure. Like look in the owners' forums and see what people are saying about the 83-inch sizes. Some people love their 83-inch OLEDs though, so it could just be like a panel variance thing. But a lot of people complain about the 83-inch size, unfortunately. You could, you really couldn't go wrong with either of these TVs though for gaming. For straight gaming. I like A90J for straight gaming. I think it's good. When is CES starting? CES will officially start on the 5th, but you'll start seeing announcements, like official announcements, on the 4th. So the 4th is probably where you'll see all the announcements start to roll out. Wasim says, I can cast HDR videos from my Galaxy Note 10 Ultra to my S95B flawlessly. However, the LG C2 42-inch is playing HDR videos in SDR. Am I missing something, or can the LG C2 not play HDR via Smart View? That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I haven't tried hooking up a Galaxy or any sort of Android phone to the S95B. Oh, so it works with the the C2. I haven't tried it with either, but I know for sure that the C2 should play it in HDR, but I don't know about Smart View, the compatibility with that. Anybody in chat have any compatibility with the Smart View that can help this gentleman out? Because he seems to be having some troubleshooting issues with that. I personally don't have experience with that. I'm sorry. How is the S95B rushed when the main problems itself are self-inflicted to their own feet via firmware? Well, I think the S95B was rushed just in general, probably was pushed a little bit too hard out of the box, out of the gate. I think that's a possibility. And there were a lot of complaints, with the S95B at launch. There were so many bugs. A lot of these bugs are now fixed. So it was definitely rushed just because we didn't expect it. But I guess it's no more rushed than any other TV when it comes out and was just announced. But you have to think about it. It was announced in March. It got released in April. All the other QD OLED TVs, well, the only other QD OLED TV was the A95K that didn't release for a couple more months after that. They had to do so many different firmware updates right away to fix the TV. But I'll argue you're right in the sense that some of the firmware updates did just kind of like were self-inflicted, shouldn't have happened. I agree. Both are true. Both are true for sure. I just got home, KG. You got a stream recap for me? Yeah, like we're just answering CES questions. We're talking about MLA. So the biggest thing that you need to know is MLA technology has a possibility of showing up at 2023 CES. According to Flat Panels HD, they got sources saying that it will be shown at CES and it will be released in 2023. So that's according to their sources. I don't have any information. I don't know anything myself personally, but I'm excited to see if it's there, and I'll definitely be the first one to talk about it if I see it. As long as I'm allowed to, of course. 3D TVs can cause eye strain. A good percentage of viewers. That's a really good point. Yeah. I wonder if that has to do with some of the way that the actual like frequency itself was flickering. I know some people have issues with flicker in general in TVs. The PWM flicker, for example. There's a couple of people on this channel actually that keep commenting about that they can't use OLED TVs because the way that that flickers. So yeah, it's really interesting that some eyes act differently compared to other eyes when it comes to the TVs that we watch. But yeah, no, good point. Good point. I just love honest opinions for real. Thank you again, KG. Start a membership so I can become a member. Well, I actually do have a membership. There's a join button on my channel, and I believe there's 2 memberships available. They're both just to support the channel. I don't have any incentive to join. It's just to support the channel, really. And anyone can join at any time. And if you do, I really do appreciate it. But I am looking to do more with the membership thing soon. I want to find a way to offer value with my membership, but also not give anything that I don't want to hold anything back. Like if I'm making content, I want it to be free no matter what, right? And so I just got to find what could I offer to members, you know? Right now it's just I don't offer anything to members and they're just supporting if they want to. Cuz I don't want to hold back any content for anyone. But thank you. Thank you for that consideration, for real. Nathan, are the G series heavier than the C series? I set up a 65-inch C2 myself, and it's so light. I almost killed myself setting up the C9 back in the day. Yeah, the C2 was really light. The redesign for the C2 is great. The G2 actually wasn't too much heavier than the C2. I think they do a really good job. It definitely is bulkier, right? It does feel more built. For example, I did drop the actual mounting plate on top of the G2 and it didn't break. I thought that was really impressive. So it's built like a tank, but it's not super heavy. But you're right, the C2 is so much lighter than they used to be. Because the stand itself, that stand was dumb. I did not like the old stand, that big metal bar that you used to set it on. Yeah, it's a great change. That's one of the most underrated changes of last year, and it is carrying over to the C3, thankfully, is that new design for the C series. Base just stumbled across your channel, subbed. Thank you for the sub. Having a hard time deciding on a new TV, was leaning towards the X85K 75-inch. Just watching content with the wife. No serious gaming. Decent choice. The X85K is not one that I would personally look at, just because I don't think that the value is there for like what you're getting out of the TV in terms of the picture quality advantages. You will find a much better TV in 75-inch size from Hisense or TCL, and it will be outperforming this model. So for streaming and just watching TV, it'll probably be good enough, but I just think that I have a hard time recommending the X85K because the value isn't really there for me. The price to performance isn't there for me. So I do like TCL and Hisense here better than the Sony TVs for that price bracket. So I would look that way instead. People are really, really high on the Hisense U8H this year. And for that use case, no gaming, perfect. U8H or U7H in the 75-inch size is a really good deal. Now, I can't remember exactly the price for these, so I'd have to look into it. But yeah, hit me up if you want to talk directly about this, and I can help you find a 75-inch TV. But I actually think that you should skip the X85K. Just the value isn't there. It feels to me like it's a bit of an overpriced TV. Which is better, the QN85B 65-inch or the QN90B 65-inch? The QN90B is certainly better. You are going to get brighter highlights. Overall, just a better, more impactful HDR experience. You also have a VA panel, which I do find as an advantage over the ADS panel that the QN85 uses. So the QN90B is certainly better, but there's not a huge drop off to the QN85B if you're doing it for the price considerations. In regular viewing, they can look very similar from time to time. I think it's about 10% of the time where you see the advantage go to the QN90B. Or if you're sitting off angle, then the QN90B makes sense as well, because the QN85B actually has worse viewing angles with that mini LED ADS combination. There's a little bit more off angle blooming from some of the things that are displayed on the TV. Lots of questions. I appreciate all the questions, guys. Let me go through some more here. I still see Best Buy has the 83-inch A90J. I wonder how much it will drop. It's still around. If it's still around at Super Bowl, still 5,000. Yeah, from what I've seen, I think I've seen it as low as 4,500 before. It's interesting that it didn't drop more than that, especially considering that we've seen an 83-inch C1 go for 3,000, and that was certainly a really good deal. I do think you'll see the A90J drop to about 4,000, like around March, April, if they have any left. David, what's up, man? Good to see you. I don't know what Smart View is, but I can cast YouTube to my C1 and it'll play videos in HDR on YouTube. Yeah, so this sounds like maybe you're using it through what, the Chromecast thing? Just a built-in cast function. Yeah, I'm not sure what Smart View is. I think it's something exclusive to Samsung phones. But thank you for your input, David. I'm sure you helped him. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I can't wait either. It's going to be great. SD, Samsung LEDs are currently suffering from the same firmware with game mode HDR. Yeah, I know, I've heard this, unfortunately. That's a bummer. Filmmaker mode is completely messed up. So I didn't hear about the filmmaker mode change, but that is a bummer as well. They should definitely change the way that they implement their updates. It's a weird structure, and if I get hands-on time to talk to anybody that is in charge of this or has anything that they can relay towards somebody who is in charge, I'll definitely talk about it with them if I have the opportunity at CES. Because yeah, they need to hear the feedback, and certainly the firmware updates have been a problem. And you know what? They've been a problem for a while, and it's been something that I remember dealing with the Q90T, and now you're seeing it again with their newer TVs. It's unfortunate. Again, guys, I will keep answering questions, and if you have any questions, leave them in the chat. Put a question mark in front, or a question mark at the end is fine too, I guess. But I do find it easier if it's a question mark in front of the question. You can also leave a super chat if you want to support the channel. That helps as well. Nothing is required on that. You can ask questions all the time for free here, so no worries on that. But if you do want to support the channel, super chats are certainly welcome. I also have that membership for my channel. If you join it, it just supports the channel. Thank you either way. So do you expect any TV to ship with QMS VRR? That's the quick media switching, where you don't see like the blackout screen, and that's for HDMI 2.1a. I do think that you might see this. Is definitely a possibility. You can see this in 2023 TVs. I think this can be applied with an update. So as far as I know, as soon as that spec is finalized, and I'll have to talk to the HDMI 2.1a guys about it when I'm there, the people that run that group. I'll have to like interview them if I get a chance to and ask them about it. But I think this can be pushed via firmware. So this should be able to be pushed to 2022 TVs, 2021 TVs. Basically any TV with HDMI 2.1, you should be able to get this via firmware. So I don't know the whole thing behind that, but I'll definitely find out. As far as I know, you don't need a new chipset to have this. What are your thoughts on the LG B2? I like it a lot. I think that the only thing that B2 is missing that the C2 has is better handling with the gradients, so you'll see less color banding. This can be cleaned up with smooth gradation. Unfortunately, smooth gradation doesn't work in game mode, so the B2 is Not a great choice if you're looking at it next to the C2 for gaming, but certainly if you don't mind a little bit of color banding here and there in certain games, which is sometimes unavoidable either way, then the B2 is fine. I know a lot of people that have the B2 that made the choice with the B2 over the C2. They're happy with it. And I think in general, you'll be happy with any OLED that you get, even if you're looking at a C1, for example. I think I would probably get a B2 over a C1 at this point, just because you have that extra year of support, you know? And if they're the same price, always go with the one that's cheaper, and that extra year of support is nice. Appreciate the honesty and advice. Yeah, no problem. How much do you think the X85K should cost? I think the way that they price it just feels like they're pricing it a little bit too high, much like the Q60A series from Samsung. And that's always been one of those two that I thought was priced a bit too high. Probably $200, $300 less than it currently is marked. Because for just a little bit more, you can jump up to a better TV. So I think that it being direct lit, not having a full array system, that's a problem. And yeah, that's my biggest downside with the X85K, is that I just think they're pushing that price a little bit too aggressive. But that's Sony. You know, Sony does that in general. So thank you for your response. Of the 3 TVs I've mentioned, I have 2 weeks to return. So on the 83-inch C2, the A90J and the G2 are mine. A90J has always been one of my favorites. Yeah, no problem on the response. I think they're all great. I think you can't go wrong with either of those, Robert. And he says, I know LG has a little bit more advantage, but do you think it'll be super satisfied with the A90J? I think as long as you're not playing like super hardcore competitive games, that difference of gaming for like input lag, for example, which is probably the only big advantage that you give to the C2 over the A90J in that size, you're probably not going to notice it, right? Unless you're somebody who is playing super competitive, or you're like on a esports team or something. I don't know. I personally don't notice this, and I've gamed on an A80J next to a C1 last year, where I was taking turns with each time I died on Call of Duty, and I was just switching my eyes back and forth, and I had it hooked up to a splitter, and I noticed no real difference. There was no feel difference. It didn't look any different. I didn't feel like there was any extra delay. So that 16 to 18 milliseconds, input lag versus like 10 milliseconds, 8 milliseconds input lag, I didn't notice a huge difference. So yeah, I don't think there's a huge advantage unless you were really looking for those gaming features. Maybe that HDMI 2.1 ports, that's certainly an advantage if you need that. But in terms of picture quality, A90J all the way. And thank you, Robert, for that super chat. If Sony A80K 77-inch and LG G2 77-inch are the same price, which do you recommend? If they're the same price, get the G2 for sure. The G2 is the superior TV of the two. It can get to a higher peak brightness, and overall the HDR is more impactful on the G2. I was very impressed with the G2. So if they're the same price, 77-inch, absolutely get the G2. Filmmaker mode is now like game HDR, but movie mode is still fine on my QN900B. That's interesting. I don't think they changed filmmaker mode on the S95B, so it's weird to see them change things on the LCD and not on the OLED, but then have that same thing that they did with the OLEDs happen to their LCDs. I really don't know what they're doing with their firmware SD. It's weird. If you find somebody that knows, man, send them my way, because I got questions. Sonos Arc or Bose 900 standalone. I did a comparison of these two when I had them, and I had them both at the same time. I thought that the Bose 900 for me, and I'm in a more of a medium-sized room, it gave me just more fuller sound overall. I like the sound. Like I could feel like the punchiness of gunshots, things like that when I'm watching movies. Like action scenes just really stuck out for me on the Bose 900. I felt like the Sonos Arc was a little bit muddy in the bass. If you're just using it as a standalone, that's a big deal. For me, I do think the Bose 900 was a superior product to the Sonos Arc as its standalone. But it's going to depend on what you like and the type of sound preference that you have. Some people like the Sonos, no doubt about it. But the Bose just does bring a different element, especially with the mids and the highs. I just think it's really good. And the bass for the Arc is too muddy for me. But again, I'm in a medium sized room. I have a door closed when I tested it. This could be different in an open environment. Sound is totally different in depending on the room that you use. And I do have sound treatment in my room, so that could also factor into it. Let's see, where was I? So I had that one pulled up. Oh, that was a question, or that was an answer. Here's a question. Is the Q Symphony versus or in Samsung's TV any good when the TV is also connected to a soundbar? The speakers also work interconnected with external speakers. It supports Dolby Atmos, and it also supports Dolby Atmos. So you're asking if the Q Symphony supports Dolby Atmos, if it's good. I haven't tested this personally, but all the feedback, all the reviews that I've watched, people love the Q Symphony. If you saw it recently, LG actually released their own version of Q Symphony with the LG Wow Orchestra. So it is something that people really love. It seems to work really good to use like your TV more of another center channel. It makes dialogue a little bit better from what I'm hearing. I like the concept of Q Symphony. I wouldn't know anything more beyond that, so it does support Atmos though. But not having hands-on experience, I can't go beyond that. But people love it. I'm looking to try it out this year though, for sure. Did you notice the game genre picture presets via the game optimizer bar? RPG and sports are super colorful and punchy. I looked at the color settings and they are all unchanged. So weird. The color change settings for RPG should be pretty much unchanged. The sports one though is changed. So yeah, there's definitely something going on with the sports. I believe contrast enhancer might be on for sports, or gosh, what do they call that for LG? Something that is saturating the colors is on for the sports mode. That's definitely changed. So sports mode is meant to be kind of that unrealistic, punchy look. RPG is pretty flat, pretty basic, like the normal modes. And you're right, the modes for the game optimizer are a little bit more saturated. Even when you change nothing, there's still a color injection, making it a little bit more saturated than normal. So I use RPG personally. I think that's a really good way to do it. I do enjoy that extra color boost that it gives, but some people don't. So it's a good question though. Ethan Palmer, thank you for the super chat. And he says, if you are 7.5 feet away, what TV would you get? 77-inch OLED or 65-inch A95K if price isn't a factor? That's tough because you're looking at a really premium model versus 77-inch. Where's it going at? Like, I think it really just kind of depends on how comfortable you are with that size. Are you going to have any size limitations with your space? Certainly 7.5 feet away is good for 77-inch. I sat about 6 feet to 7 on mine. It would be hard to go back to a 65, but I could do it. I could certainly do it. This is a tough question. I think I would probably go 77-inch OLED from 7.5 feet away. Granted, if you have, the space for it, and it's not gonna look awkward or be in the way or anything like that. Gaming tech in the house. What's up? What's up, Marcus? How are you doing? SD S95B doesn't have local dimming control for dynamic tone mapping. That's why I think they left it alone on the S95B. Yeah, they did something though with they broke the ST2084 slider, which sucks. But I think you said that's broken on LCDs too. Yeah, I don't know what they do. It's weird. But that could be why it happened to that and not that. Lost SS is the difference between monitors and TVs for gaming is image processing. Yeah, it comes down to that. That is the biggest difference. It's also the technology that they use certainly is more updated. Not recently though. I mean, like you have been getting some better monitor panels in the, form of QD OLED. But even if you look at like say the Alienware QD OLED next to just like an S95B, it's almost not that big of a comparison in terms of like which one's better. I think that you would see a difference mainly just because of the way that the image processing is going to work. And that's a big deal for people. Will monitors ever have image processing? I don't know, because that's going to slow down, the gaming. So we'll see. But that's certainly the difference. There was a user in here, he had a Alienware and he also has a S95B, and he was telling me that the Alienware doesn't look as good next to it, which was kind of unfortunate to hear. But I know people were kind of iffy on the Alienware after a while. I'm not sure why. Haas says, anything tech you're most excited for at upcoming CES? To actually see, I really want to see micro LED. I have never seen it personally, so would be cool to see that. A transparent OLED, I want to see that just because I want to see what it looks like. As far as like announcements go, I want to see what they're gonna do if MLA is there, like they've been rumoring right now. The other thing is, what's the other thing? Oh yeah, 77-inch QD OLED. I definitely want to see that. I want to see what improvements they made to QD OLED. And LCDs. I don't think LCDs are done either. So I'm kind of excited to see what they're doing there. I'm excited about everything at CES, to be honest with you. But yeah, the biggest thing would probably be actually getting to see some of the technology that I don't ever get to see, like micro LED, the transparent OLEDs, things like that. Just stuff that's larger than life, kind of like you would never see unless you go to CES. That's more of a personal thing, though. EHJ says, with bigger OLEDs coming, what's the biggest size OLED you could see in the future? And what do you think the bigger OLEDs would projectors be in trouble? Like, are you talking about like 150-inch OLEDs, 120-inch OLEDs? Like, I don't know, because there are limitations that they got to put on some of the screens, because who's fitting these in their house other than, people who have really big houses. But I guess, with size increases comes price increases, and that kind of limits the demographic for it anyway. So it's certainly possible. 95-inch OLED is what we're hearing right now. There's a 97-inch. Will there be like 120-inch, 150-inch? It would be cool to see. I don't know how likely it would be. That's a good question. Projectors would be in trouble in that case, unless they are significantly cheaper. Then people might always lean towards projectors because of the cost, and not only that, it's less of an issue to set up than a 150-inch OLED TV. Like, could you imagine like having to set something like that up? It'd be kind of a pain. But yeah, that's a good question. Gaming Tech, King of HDR Analysis. Yep, for sure. He hit me with a super chat. He says, I hope this helps for the trip for CES. Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. CES is great. I can't wait. Can't wait. All right, JY Vision, thank you. Do you think that 2022 TVs will be cheaper than Black Friday coming in March? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think in March, April, you can expect close to closeout prices. The way you saw it last year was CES, not CES, at Black Friday, $12.99 for the OLEDs, right? And then March, April hit, you started to see those 55-inch OLEDs come down to $9.99. That's typically what you can expect, about a 200 to 300 price decrease. For the bigger models, sometimes even like, bigger price drops. So like 77-inch C2 could come down to 2,000. It's certainly possible, and I do expect it. Do you have a video talking about MLA tech? You talked about, yeah, I do actually. It's one of my more recent videos. I kind of explain the basics of what it is. What improvements should I expect by adding a sub mini to the ARC? I have to limit the base since I have neighbors. Would I notice a difference on the ARC and the surrounds? It's a really good question. I think if you have to limit the bass, it's tough because the sub mini can really output some pretty good bass. I do think adding a sub is going to be better in terms of like the sound quality and just the overall experience that you get out of your sound. I'd add a sub before I add surrounds. Subs seems to make the biggest difference. Surrounds are cool, but if you have an ARC, you have a pretty good sound stage already with the way that that's implementing and bouncing off the walls, things like that. It depends on your space, of course. I think if you have a larger space, you should go for the three, all three. If you have a larger space, if you have a smaller space, I think surrounds may not really be needed, and the sub mini is probably the best improvement there. That's, it depends though on your situation, I think, more so than anything. I personally like the sub better than adding the surrounds. So if I had to choose one, I would choose the sub mini. I have the same problem as you though, by the way. Like I have to limit the bass because neighbors and stuff. HOA and all that. EHJ, good thing I'm a Total Tech member. That would be a pain to set up. Yeah, that would be a pain to set up. Yeah, it's a good point. That's where the Total Tech membership would come in handy, right? All right, so I'm gonna go for about 10 more minutes. I'm gonna catch up on all the questions here. If you guys have any last minute questions, the best way to do it would be to leave a super chat, and I'll see that right away. If not, I'll just try to answer all the questions that I see. First come, first serve. And we'll close it out in 10 minutes. If you guys haven't hit the like button already and you're enjoying this, please hit the like button. If you're new to this channel and you've never seen me before, hitting the subscribe button would go a long way to helping out. And I appreciate you guys for doing that. And make sure you tune in for CES because I'm going to do live streams during CES. I'll have videos. It's going to be hectic, but we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. I was buying a bunch of tech this week to take to CES. I got a laptop. I got a new lens. I'm not even using the new lens. This is actually a kit lens. But because I've got everything packed up already and I'm excited. So yeah, it's going to be a great time at CES. Looking forward to meeting everybody. That's one of the biggest things is like never met FOMO before. Never met Brandon, never met Techno Dad. Gonna meet those guys. I talk to them all the time. So that's gonna be cool. And any other content creators that are there, I'm looking forward to meeting them. I'm gonna meet Caleb. I'm gonna meet Robert from Value Electronics. It's gonna be good. So yeah, hopefully. I don't know if Brian Whisper Status is going. I gotta ask him. That'd be cool to meet him too. It'd be cool to take a picture with them. Big giant dude next to a small guy. Yeah, that would be a good one. Let's see what we got here. Let me make sure that I got everybody's questions here. I got a question for you guys. Would you go with pizza or Chick-fil-A? That's the choice that I got right now for my dinner. So I don't know. I'm gonna look through this chat here. While I look, you guys could tell me pizza or Chick-fil-A. Where are we at here? I think I got everybody. I tried to get everybody. Let me double check, make sure I didn't miss anything in the actual chat. Sometimes it doesn't show up on StreamYard. I don't want to leave anybody hanging. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. All right, where you at? Okay. So I don't see anything new. I don't see anything that I missed. I think we're good. Chick-fil-A pizza, Supreme Pizza. Brian said he's gonna visit last video. I'll have to talk to him. That'd be cool. It'd be cool to see Brian. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. That's a tough one, but I'm a pizza guy. But Chick-fil-A is lit. It is lit. But I am a pizza guy myself. It's a very tough one. I can get chicken wings as well. So maybe I'll just get both, right? Like I'll get pizza and then I'll also get like the wings at Pizza Hut. The Pizza Hut wings are pretty fire. Let's be real. I like them both. So unfortunately we don't have a wing stop, or else that would totally be the answer. Man, some of you guys are so spoiled with like the food selections that you got. That's a good point, Bill. Get Chick before they close. I got 2 days, right? Yeah, it's Friday. I can get Chick-fil-A tomorrow. I can get pizza today. That might be the way to go. All right. Any more questions, guys? If not, I'm going to leave you guys with this. Make sure you tune in. Next week is going to be a big jam-packed. On my community page, I will post all the like press conferences, when to catch them, what channel to catch them on. It's going to be great. I think that it's going to be probably one of the best experiences I've personally had as just an experience in general. It's going to be fun. It's a big milestone for the channel to be able to be invited to CES and to fly there to cover it. It's great. I'm going to have my best friend there, the cameraman for me. I'm just excited, man. I'm at a loss for words sometimes just talking about the event, and I'm humbled to be able to bring it to you guys. To be real, I can't say thank you guys enough. You guys are so supportive. Like everybody in the chat, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for asking questions. Those of you that did super chats, thank you. I can't say thanks enough for that. And yeah, you guys just helped me grow this channel so much, and it's gonna be great. Looking forward to 2023. You guys have a happy new year. Have a safe new year. And I'll see you guys next week at CES. Thanks for watching.